Alright, hello people from the internet, hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The time has come for me to make another non-gameplay video. This time I am going to talk about the games that I had in the 0.30 tournament, my performance, I guess you could call it, in the tournament. So, the first game was a Merfolk Monk of the Shining One. You can see that the score is much higher than any of the other games, and that is because it was a 15 rune game. My first game in the tournament was a Merfolk Monk of the Shining One, looking to do 15 runes. I started with what I consider to be the strongest combination in the game at the moment. I think that the Orb of Light that Monk gets is a really strong addition to the background. I think that it is very noticeable. I think that it provides with a lot of upside and not really any downside at all, other than the very light armor that Monk starts with. Doesn't even get leather. But yeah, I won the Shining One also because of the halo that allowed me to eventually throw away the orb of light and replace it with something else. In my winning loadout, I had a +4 kite shield with rampaging and 7 strength minus 3 dexterity. The character ended with a good amount of dexterity and strength and intelligence high enough, strength high enough for me to wear ice scales. And like intelligence, I wasn't casting any spells. Didn't really bother getting that. So yeah. The character ended with pretty great defenses. I did unequip willpower after a certain point because I didn't consider it to be as important. I would rather have better defenses and better resistances other than willpower. Extended doesn't really threaten you with hexes that much. Don't misunderstand me, some parts absolutely do. It's just that the parts that I was in didn't really do that. I got 2 spells, Apport and Blink. I got 7 translocations and 8 spell casting only for the purpose of casting those 2 spells, and I didn't really cast them a lot. However, I do think that if you can get, or if you can spare the experience for low level translocations, it makes a lot of sense because they're really strong for the amount of experience that you have to dump on them, especially if you're using armor like the kind that I was using. Ice scales are almost like pearl scales, but they provide you with 2 pips of cold resistance and a pip of weakness to fire. So they're not really a no-brainer. They're like not always the perfect choice for your character. But if you happen to have a bunch of fire resistance already from one source or another, maybe you're a Jinn, for example, then ice scales are really good for you, and ice scales were really good for this character. Yeah, I ended with 40 armor class and 40 evasion, 25 shields too. The character performed very well. I went for 15 runes, as I already mentioned. I went for first the 4 dungeon runes that are not Tomb, obviously, then Pan, then the Abyss, and then I did Tomb, then last I did Hells. To be completely fair, from the very beginning I didn't think that I was gonna do 15 runes. I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep going and I'm gonna keep going until I feel like I can no longer keep going, and then I'm gonna either die or just go ahead and win. I was saying that after doing SOT, which wasn't really difficult. We did SOT 5, and then we did Bolt 5, funnily enough. I did SOT 5, then Bolt 5, and then I entered the Abyss, got my Abyss rune, and then I did a little bit of Tomb 1, actually. Doing the entrance of Tomb 1 is difficult, but manageable, and it can serve to gain a little bit of extra experience before going into Pan. You do have to worry about not expending resources, valuable resources that you would need for the rest of your run. After doing Tomb 1, I did Pan. I got my Pan runes. Took me a while, and I got banished to the Abyss by a wizard in the level of Lomlobon, funnily enough. Back in the day, that would have meant that I would have lost Lomlobon's rune forever, but fortunately, that is no longer the case. I did some levels of a Ziggurat. I did up to Ziggurat 13. This was a melee character. This didn't have level 9 spells. So doing a Ziggurat to its entirety was not really a possibility. It was very difficult to do. And so I called it quits at Ziggurat 13. Ziggurat 13, funnily enough, had a bunch of panlords. It was dangerous Ziggurat 13. After that, I did Tomb, and well, being a worshipper of the Shining One, having 27 invocations, because I did get 27 invocations with this character, that was an important part, and I dealt a bunch of damage to all the mummies. Didn't really take that much damage in return, thanks to the Shining One. Then I did Hells. Hells was the last stretch of this character. We went for Cocytus first, which had a million Ice Fiends. It was actually kind of sketchy, very dangerous place. Cocytus, then Tartarus. In Tartarus, I got paralyzed by Ereshkigal for fortunes. It was kind of crazy that I had that happen, and I still managed to kill her very easily. Ereshkigal has a very dangerous combination of silence and major healing. Silence makes it so that, like, often when you get silence, your damage output plummets, especially for a character at that point in the game. Those characters are usually very strong spellcasters that need to be able to not be silenced to deliver any significant damage output. So you can imagine that with your damage output severely hindered, a monster with major healing could just major heal once or twice and then be back at full HP, and then you're silenced and probably not at full HP because Ereshkigal also has Torment. And like Ereshkigal can also summon some really nasty things. I think she has summoned Tzitzimitl. Pretty scary enemy. But in this occasion, it was not really an issue to fight Ereshkigal. After that, I did this. This I was worried about. I was seriously worried about. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to do it, but killing this Pater wasn't difficult. This run, it was my literal first character in the tournament. I got all 15 runes. I killed all Panlords, all Hell and the Serpent of Hell. It was pretty nice, and we got to see some new reworks for certain items that have been changed. Like, for example, the Spater now gets an orb. Now the Spater has an orb of the Spater instead of a staff of the Spater. So you can wield it in the shield slot, and obviously it removes your shield, but it gives you the evocable damnation. Very funny. Do I think it's a good idea to do that? Not really. I also think that it is kind of lame that such a cool item is locked behind so much progress in the game, because like at the point in the game where you get it, it is no longer like something truly remarkable and interesting and something that will change your character. That is criticism that I have for pretty much every end game item. Like the Sword of Serebov would be cool if you could find it early, but like at the point that you get it, you're probably not gonna want to switch from whatever you're using into using the Sword of Serebov. The Staff of the Spater, or well, I guess the Orb of the Spater I've already talked about, and the Scepter of Asmodeus. Now it is, I think, a plus 13 Evening Star, so that's actually really, really worth considering. But that's like the only one. And in this specific run, I did that Death Last. So after killing Asmodeus, I didn't really have much else to do other than pick up the orb and get out, and that is what I did. I would say that I was pretty happy about that character being my starting character in the tournament, the Merfolk Monk of the Shining One. Pretty good. Next character is the Minotaur Hunter of Okawaru. I decided to start Minotaur Hunter not because I had any interest in using launchers, I really didn't, but because Hunter gets more dexterity than strength, even more so in this version, I'm pretty sure. In 0.31 trunk, I mean. In case you're not aware, 0.30, I think it was. Maybe it wasn't 0.29, but I think it was 0.30. There were serious changes to launchers. Now, if you're wearing heavy armor, that hinders your launcher attack speed. The launchers no longer require ammunition, but the launchers got also severely nerfed. Alongside, the armor thing, the stats for launchers were like decreased pretty much all across the line. Some launchers got seriously hurt as a result of these changes. For example, the longbow. So so yeah, I just don't like launchers. I don't consider them to be in the game anymore. It's for me personally, it's like a Conjure Flame situation where it just got nerfed so badly that I wonder why it's still in the game. But regardless, that is just my opinion, and if I don't want to use a certain thing in the game, I am not gonna use it. And the reason why I'm not gonna use it, to elaborate a little bit more on that, is because I don't think that it is good in any situation that I would want to, be in when it comes to playing this game. I would try to avert any situation where I am stuck with a lightly armored character using a weapon that, while it does hit from afar, which is the greatest advantage of the launcher, it also is subject to some serious penalties, such as just being weaker than an equivalent melee weapon, and also being slowed by any kind of armor that you want to wear. The best launchers are two-handers too, so that means no shield. But even if you could wield a shield, as for example with a Formicid, it would mean that your attack speed would be delayed. So you are delayed with the armor and you're delayed with the shield. It's just awful, in my opinion, to use launchers right now. I have been liking throwing a lot more, to be completely honest. Yeah, ever since the unfortunate changes to launchers, I've been doing throwing a lot more. Um, did this character use throwing? Let's see. I did have a bunch of boomerang silver jabs and normal jabs because after all I was a worshipper of Okawaru. Okawaru gave me some incredibly good weapons. I got plus 11 triple sword on layer 3 in this Minotaur Hunter. It was a great thing to have. I was not sure that I was gonna go for a triple sword, but the Okawaru just gave me that, and like you cannot say no to that kind of thing when you're a Minotaur. Minotaurs don't really have the issue where like they don't have enough experience to actually go for something like that. So yeah, that's a pretty good thing. We also had a pretty straightforward game. This was my second character of the tournament, so that was a streak of 2. After that, I tried playing Demigod or Ogre, something like that. It just didn't go very well. I lost a streak. Took me a while to get my third win, which was Humans in the Acolyte. Yeah. Um, Humans in the Acolyte. Server is loading. Anyway, we went for the tried and true Ignis into Jiba. Ignis is kind of a Jiva recruiter because by the time that you are powerful enough to survive Ignis Wrath without really a lot of complications, as long as you play carefully, you're right around the corner from a Jiva altar. And funnily enough, that's not what happened in this occasion with that character. The conditions for me to go Jiva were the following. I was doing an ice cave, and it was a jelly ice cave, and I didn't even think about it, but the jelly ice cave always has a Jiva altar at the end. So I saw the Jiva altar, and I immediately abandoned Ignis. Like, that was the moment, because I really didn't want to risk the possibility of a Jiva altar not generating in the entrance to Slime. And Ignis into Jiva is really strong. I have a pretty high win rate going in the Ignis into Jiva. Because to be completely fair, you've already gotten past some of the roughest parts of the game by the time you get the opportunity to start worshipping Jiva. But yeah, Jiva is just crazy. I've had Jiva on D1 characters before, and I've won the game. I have a very high win rate with Jiva. once again, precisely because it's you get it after the point where the game is at its most rough and unfair, which is the early game, where you are often presented with situations that you don't really have the tools to deal with other than running away. Um, Sometimes running away is not possible. But anyway, this character got spells, believe it or not. I was a human Cinder acolyte, and I knew that I couldn't get Swords Dexterity, what I used to beat my first two characters, because Cinder acolyte gets like 3 Dexterity. So I went for spell casting. My end loadout was volatile blast modes, which I didn't really use. It's the rocket jump spell, the replacement for Conjure Flame. It's okay. I think it should probably be level 2, but it is decent. I got Starburst, which I did make a lot of use of. Stone Arrow, Iron Shot, classic combination. Stone Arrow first, then Iron Shot later. I got Scorch, the starting spell for a Cinder Acolyte, the main reason why I like Cinder Acolyte so much. We got LRD as well, good for killing certain bolts denizens, like the construct bands, pretty much. It also works versus skeletons, skeletal warriors, stuff like that. We also got Blink, obviously, Ignition, the backbone of the character. Ignition is a really strong thing to have. Very, very explosive spell, very good, very enjoyable. And last but not least, we got Refrigeration, the only ice magic spell in this character, which is pretty lame in my opinion. I really want a stepping stone between the starting book for ice magic and Refrigeration. And I don't really consider Freezing Cloud to be that, because while Freezing Cloud is pretty decent, pretty strong, it also is 3 schools, including a school that I was also not interested in using, which is Air Magic. This game I didn't get Plasma Beam, but perhaps if I had gotten Plasma Beam, I would have also gone for Freezing Cloud. But anyway, that's a lot of experience, and I was a human, I was no Deep Elf, so getting that going was never gonna be a possibility in a 3-rune game. I didn't max any of my skills. My highest one was fighting, 24.7. Then I got 22 shields so that I could use a kite shield of resistance fully enchanted because I didn't really have anything else to put my scrolls of enchant weapons on. We got Quicksilver Scales, which helped with the whole not having a lot of scrolls of enchant weapon thing. That character was okay, was pretty enjoyable, and it was nice to win a character after it took me a bit. I won the Minotaur in the Monday right after the tournament started, and then it took me until Wednesday to win another character in the Human Cinder Acolyte of Jiva. And then I think I streaked Ogre Cinder Acolyte. Yeah, because I have 2 streaks of 2. Never got a streak of 4 this tournament. But yeah, next character was the Ogre Cinder Acolyte of Hep. I have to say that from all of the characters in the tournament, I would not repeat this one, specifically the going Hep part. I wanted a Hep win in this tournament. But I didn't get to 6 pips of piety. It was impossible for me to get to 6 pips of piety. Hep piety gain just doesn't work well with the fact that by the time you go Hep after going Ignis, because Cinder Acolyte start, remember, you have already explored a sizable amount of the dungeon. So yeah, I never got to 6 pips of piety with Hep, and that is the reason why I wouldn't repeat the Ignis into Hep sequence. I didn't really have that many piety issues because I also was not using my piety a lot, but yeah, I think that I should have gone a different god most likely. Didn't really go hard on invocations, even though Hep does work okay with invocations. Idealize is very strong. Definitely worth it to get like 18 invocations or so if you're going for a Hep worshipper, just because of that idealize. The character didn't really get maces. I got 10 polearms, but then I was like, Rift, which is the reason why I got polearms, is distortion, a distortion weapon. So I didn't really want to wield it and unwield it. My other weapon was a Staff of Earth with cold resistance and willpower, very strong item. And I really did need those resistances, so I couldn't afford to constantly unwield Rift. And even though I trained for it, I didn't really end up using it. But it was perfectly fine because by the time I spent that experience, I was already in a pretty good spot. Like I didn't really miss the 10 levels of experience that I put into polearms. I got Rift very late into the game, so that's why it wasn't an issue. The character was one of my standard spellcasters, very similar to the previous one. Also got Ignite, or I also got Iron Shot. This one didn't get Stone Arrow, but I did get the Poison package very early on. I remember Ignite Poison, Poisonous Vapors, Toxic Radiance. Eventually I went into Statue Form, Ignition, Irradiate. Sublimation of Blood I picked up and I barely used, but I feel like I should have used it a lot more. There were some situations where I was running out of mana and I didn't really have many other things to do. I trained evocations very late into that run, and I could have really used either evocations or sublimation of blood in some situations. Noxious Bog, I once again used it to kill the Royal Jelly. Noxious Bog's pinnacle is to use it to fight slime because it is a really, really good spell for the purposes of dealing with slime. The only slimes that survive Ignite Poison after Noxious Bog are the rock slimes. Not even the royal jelly does well against that. And I did have an alternative plan for rock slimes. I had iron shot, so it was easy to get my rune from slime there. That was a good character. I would recommend you to give it a try if you so desire. I would tell you to not go HEP, but Ogre, Cinder, acolyte I think has my seal of approval. It's not like you can aspire to being dodgy or have a lot of dexterity, go for swords dexterity with an Ogre, so might as well just embrace the lack of dexterity and go hard on either strength or intelligence from being a Cinder acolyte. I do have to say that I don't recommend going for melee if you don't have high dexterity in last version 0.30 and this version 0.31 trunk. The reality is that melee characters that don't have dexterity are gonna be painful. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it. It really is an issue to not have a lot of dexterity nowadays. Anyway, that was the Ogre Cinder Acolyte. We're approaching the end of this little tournament recap. By the way, all of these characters are already on YouTube in case you want to watch them. You just have to search for them in my channel. I uploaded them all across last week. So Healer Fighter of Uskoyo. This went extremely well. I think I got Uskoyo from a Faded Altar, so I got the Faded Altar banner. A healer has +3 invocations skill, so getting to 27 invocations wasn't that difficult and it was very powerful. Fights were going like this. I was having kind of some issues actually killing things, and then I got to the paralysis, and then the paralysis made it so that like in 2 turns, everything that I was struggling to kill was dead. Either that or it gave me enough juice for Grand Finale, which then I proceeded to use on the most difficult monsters. There were some situations with this character where I was in the middle of a fight and a scary unique, in fact, wandered right from the edge of the line of sight, and then I just insta-killed it with Grand Finale, like, wrong place, wrong time. It happened for Frederick, and it happened earlier. It happened 2 times. I think it happened also with Kirky. The yes, no, Kirky took me 10 turns. It happened earlier. It happened with 2 uniques. Mm, no idea. But yeah, it is really fun to go for a healer of Uskoyo. Uskayo with high invocations is just fantastic. I would recommend it very heavily, just as I recommend most of my winning characters if you haven't tried them. Um, I think it is very rare for me to say that I don't recommend something, but like I guess that just makes it more noticeable when I do end up saying that. Like for example, I wouldn't recommend you to play a cat or a Spriggan or a Tengu, but I would recommend you to play any of the characters that you see on the screen, except for going Hep after going Ignis. Don't do that to yourself. That's not a good idea. Um, I might have to make a video of like the best gods to go after worshipping Ignis as a Cinder acolyte. That sounds like a good video idea. But anyway, this Hillock Fighter of Uskoyo was a great experience, and I will probably play it again later when I feel like playing it. The game also took me 2 hours and 49 minutes. That was my fastest real-time game that tournament. The humans, no, the Minotaur Hunter, I think I won it also under 3 hours. In my first tournament, I had issues getting that banner, like the win the game under 3 hours banner. But I have been getting better at playing fast, I suppose, and now I can get it without that much difficulty on rather strong combos, without really skipping a bunch of the game. Which is nice. I could have played Meteoran for the turn count speed runs and also like pacifism banners because there's a new banner now. Instead of being ranked by like lowest experience level, it's ranked by lowest amount of kills. Most Pacific run, I suppose. And I didn't even try for it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even bother trying. Um, but I guess that if you really wanted to do something like that, a Meteoran would be the species to go for, I suppose. Anyway, I don't like Meteorans, they're really difficult. I would say that Meteoran is the most difficult species to win in Crawl. Like, it really takes you being really good at the game and having a lot of experience with the game before you can win a Meteoran. I don't think that a new player would ever be able to win Meteoran. Um, I also another thing that I don't like about Meteoran, like sorry for diverging so much from the main topic of the video, just a little parenthesis here. Meteoran removes your ability to O. Auto exploring is nice. I like auto exploring. The game may last for a lesser amount of time when you're not auto exploring, because you're not clearing everything, but it makes it feel like it lasts for so much longer. Like every action requires some brain power. Like if, I am okay with combat taking brain power, of course. Like that's the whole point of the game. But like when even exploration takes brain power, there's a lot of exploration in Crawl. So it is pretty exhausting for me to play Meteoran. That's why I don't really like it that much. Anyway, last character was a demon spawn gladiator. This character, in case you haven't seen the video, please do watch the video of this character. This is some of the best Crawl that I've ever played in my life. Very happy about how this character went. I really enjoyed playing this character. I started as with the intention of going swords dexterity, and the game said, "Okay, we're gonna give you claws, so you're gonna use unarmed combat." And I got claws, and I went unarmed combat. I also went Cheibriados, and Cheibriados is a difficult god, not as difficult as Meteoran in terms of just like overall difficulty, but it does inflict a rather difficult challenge upon your character. I would say that there were some occasions where Cheibriados almost killed me. Like almost always, immediately upon worship, you're gonna be at your weakest when it comes to Cheibriados. But it really wasn't an issue for this character after a certain point. The character could have gone for Manifold Assault shenanigans, and I did buy Manifold Assault, but I ended up not using it. I just didn't. I just didn't want to. The character got the poison package, and I got claws and I got the poison package, and that made me think, okay, let's go Cheibriados, because the poison package, ignite poison, poisonous vapors, and toxic radiance is really strong for the entirety of a 3-run game. it really kills a lot of things. It only starts to decay in sod, really. Like it's either really strong or completely useless. Like for example, it would be completely useless in Tomb or Crypt, but it is really, really strong in places like shoals or even slime if you happen to get Noxious Bog as well, which I didn't really get with this character. Um, so yeah, I got my claws at let's see here. Let's see, when did we get the claws? D5, experience level 6. I got my claws, and I was very excited. Yes. Um, the Oh no, it was actually D4, experience level 5 that I got my claws. In experience level 6, I got the second level. At that point, I could have just gone full time unarmed, but I didn't want to because I was training other stuff. I think I had already poisonous vapors and ignite poison. Yeah, I found those on D4 very, very early. Um, it was kind of great. So I went Chaibriados, and I almost died after going Chaibriados. Um, yeah, but the interesting part of this character was the very end. Um, I went through the game like normal, intending of just going for a 3-rune game and then just winning something else. Um, and I got a very important demon spawn mutation after a certain point. Um, the mutation that I got was Torment Resistance. I got it in Depths 1 for I had experience level 23. Um, and at that point, I said, I'm going to do Orbrun Tomb, which I have never done before. Normally, people do Orbrun Tomb at the end of a 15 rune run, as the rune number 15, with an accomplished, very strong spellcaster that has already dominated the rest of the game. But I didn't want to do another 15 rune run, like I already did one, and I don't even really like it. I also didn't want to risk extended with Chevriados. So I just did something that was probably more difficult than doing a 15 rune run and getting all round Tomb like that. And I went for doing Tomb with this character after 5 runes. We fought a lot of really strong things with this character. We fought BB. We killed BB with melee. Like this character was kind of insane. We just punched through the entire tree of the game until Tomb. And I said multiple times with this character that playing it felt like driving a train over monsters. That's just the result of having crazy amounts of strength and unarmed combat, and crazy high amounts of unarmed combat as well. I had, 22 unarmed combat? I usually get 22. Some people get 27, but that's just too expensive. Yeah, I got 22 unarmed combat. You can go higher if you want to, but like this character never maxed anything. Like, in fact, my highest skill was 22.1 invocations because I wanted the invocations title for Cheibriados and to win with 3 gods with invocations as my highest skill, which I did manage to do in the tournament. It was nice. So yeah, what can I say about the Orbrun Tomb sequence? The only thing that I can really say is that you should watch it. I think that all the relevant commentary when it comes to that run is already on video. The Orbrun Tomb part took me a long time. Like it took me multiple hours, I'm pretty sure, but it was extremely enjoyable. Like you have no idea. As I already said, I think that's some of the best scroll that I've ever played in my life, and certainly some of the best scroll that I've played on stream and that I've put on YouTube. That specific run, I'm very happy that it will be preserved for posterity. Like, really, I have no more words to um, praise that run and like express how pleased I am with how it ended up going. It was going so well and it was so interesting that I said, even if I die, I'm gonna put it on YouTube. Fortunately, I ended up not dying. Um, so yeah, that was my last winning character of the tournament, the Demon Spawn Gladiator. After after all of that, I said I'm gonna try to do orbrun tomb. As you can see, I won that character in 19th of May, and I still had a couple of days left in the tournament. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do, which was Lord of Darkness 3. I think that the addition of well, not the addition, like the nerfs to a certain amount of things, like the experience that you get from depths. There's now only depths 4. The nerf to launchers made it so that it is much more difficult to do it now. Like for the last couple of versions, it's been more and more difficult to do Orbrun Tomb, or like not Orbrun Tomb, but like Lord of Darkness 3. I think this tournament only 2 people got Lord of Darkness 3, one of which was Wizard Ike, by the way. Shouts to Wizard Ike, always rates me on Twitch. You should follow the stream of Wizard Ike. I don't know if Wizard Ike puts stuff on YouTube, but I guess you can look it up if you want to. Wizard Ike got every banner. I think Wizard Ike was the only person in the entirety of the tournament who got every tier 3 banner. The tier 3 banners are the ones that are very difficult. Wizard Ike super grinded the tournament, and in fact, that kind of made me realize that I kind of missed my opportunity to be really competitive when it came to crawl, because the format of the tournament and the fact that it lasts for 2 weeks means that you're rewarded for perseverance and kind of just grinding it out. Like you're never gonna get a streak for if you don't play a lot of games, right? Like eventually you're just gonna win 4 in a row. Unless you're really, really good. Like I think Sergey played like 13 games and won all 13 games, so like had a streak of 13, and Sergey also won the tournament. By the way, Sergey appeared in the chat in my Demon Spawn Gladiator of Chabriados. It was a nice little surprise, and I definitely appreciate it. So yeah, that was also pretty cool about that Orbrun Tomb run. Um, so yeah, overall, I ended in place 52 of 1,796 players. Not the best that I've ever done. I think it's the 0.29 tournament. I did much better than that. In the 0.29 tournament, I ended in 45th place. Was it 0.28? Because there was a tournament that I ended in 20-something place. Yeah, 27th place in the 0.28 tournament. Man, that tournament I won a lot more characters than 0.29 and 0.30. But anyway, yeah. While I think that I don't really have what it takes to grind crazy crawl, the likes of which could make you do very well in the tournament, I still enjoy the game enough for me to want to continue streaming it and coming back to it. So I don't think that I'll stop. Maybe the rate of content that I put out when it comes to crawl is lowered, because like as years pass and I play crawl and more crawl on Twitch, and most importantly, I guess I do have to say it, the things that I like to do get nerfed or removed. It is more appealing to me to play other games on stream. That is something that I struggle a lot with until December of 2021 when I got Reef Wizard. Reef Wizard completely revitalized the stream and completely changed it. And I've not really played as much as I praise it, but I do play it every now and then. In fact, I have a Reef Wizard run or two coming to YouTube in the short future, I guess, in the near future. But yeah, like it is always a nice thing to have in mind that like if I cannot play crawl or if I don't want to play crawl on stream at any given occasion, I can always jump in and just play a good old run of Reef Wizard or two. Man, I love that game. And you should also consider giving it a try if you haven't already. Support the developer. The game is amazing. More games should be like that, in my opinion. Anyway, That's enough Rift Wizard for a crawl video, and I think that is all that I really have to say. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for consuming my content. I hope that it has entertained you and helped you. Thank you for your continued support, and yeah, I'll continue, and I hope you continue too. Um, so yeah, see you around. And thank you to my supporters on Patreon: Anthony Emergence, Blink and Die, Durasbol, Enon, Grapophilia, Fede, Frog, Shaper, Merlin, Alistair, and a brand new one, Neil. Yeah, Neil has developed Crawl in the past. Um, so I especially appreciate not only your monetary contribution on Patreon, but also the time and effort that you have put into the game and hosting a server for it, which I used to play on. Um, all of that really helps a lot and like has a positive impact in my life, I suppose. So yeah, thank you all of you for your generous contributions.